whispers in the shadows, symbols etched into stone, handshakes known only to a chosen few. For centuries, humanity has been fascinated by the idea of secret societies, powerful groups said to influence governments, control wealth, and shape the course of world history. But what is truth? What is myth? Today, we pull back the curtain to uncover the real history, the misunderstood symbolism, and the genuine mysteries surrounding the world's most famous secret societies. In every age, and in every corner of the world, people have formed private groups. They gather for protection, for knowledge, and for influence. Some of these societies were born from fear, in times of persecution. Others grew from a burning desire for freedom from tyranny. And many were formed in the quiet pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Imagine living in a time where certain ideas could get you killed, whether they were about politics, science, or religion. In such societies, secrecy wasn't about conspiracy, it was a shield. It was a means of survival for thinkers, rebels, and scholars who dared to question the status quo. And this is where the stories of the world's most mysterious and misunderstood brotherhoods truly begin. Let's start with perhaps the most famous of them all, the Freemasons. Their story traces back to the great cathedral builders of medieval Europe. These were the stonemasons, highly skilled artisans who held the secrets to constructing magnificent cathedrals, castles, and temples that still stand today. To protect their craft, their techniques, and their livelihoods from outsiders, they used a system of secret symbols, passwords, and handshakes to identify one another as true craftsmen. Over the centuries, as the great era of cathedral building waned, these practical guilds of stonemasons evolved. They transformed into a fraternal society, a brotherhood focused not on building stone structures, but on building better men. Their new mission emphasized morality, charity, self-improvement, and philosophical inquiry. But as their influence grew, so did suspicion. As kings fell and revolutions reshaped the world, rumors began to spread, whispers that the Masons weren't just a simple fraternity, but a hidden power pulling the strings of history. It's true that many Freemasons were at the forefront of monumental political change. Figures like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and numerous European revolutionaries were proud members. However, their involvement wasn't typically part of some grand, coordinated conspiracy. Instead, they influenced the world through their individual actions, their networks, and the Enlightenment ideals of liberty and reason that Freemasonry promoted. This very prominence, however, fueled the enduring myth that Freemasonry secretly controlled governments and orchestrated world events from behind the scenes. But historians largely agree, while Masons were undoubtedly influential, they were not the world's puppet masters. They were thinkers, leaders, and sometimes rebels, whose ideas challenged old systems and helped shape the modern world we live in today. Now, let's talk about the name that has become synonymous with global conspiracy, the Illuminati. The true story begins not in the shadowy halls of power, but in a university in Bavaria, Germany, in 1776. A law professor named Adam Weishaupt, a fierce advocate for the European Enlightenment, founded a small, secret group he called the Order of the Illuminati. Their mission was surprisingly simple and, for the time, radical: to promote reason, science, and freedom of thought in an era dominated by the church and absolute monarchy. They wanted to illuminate the minds of men and free them from superstition and prejudice. The Illuminati were staunchly opposed to the abuse of state power and religious dogma. They met in secret, not because they were plotting world domination, but because their very ideas were considered dangerous and subversive by the authorities. Expressing such views openly could lead to imprisonment or worse. Their secrecy was a necessity for their survival. But their time was short-lived. The Bavarian government, deeply suspicious of any secret organization, cracked down hard. In 1785, the state officially banned the Illuminati, along with other secret societies like the Freemasons. The group was hunted down, its members scattered, and it effectively disbanded within just 9 years of its founding. So how did a small, defunct Enlightenment club become the centerpiece of virtually every global conspiracy theory? The legend began after their demise, in the decades that followed. conservative writers and political alarmists began to wildly exaggerate their influence. They wrote sensationalist books and pamphlets claiming the Illuminati had survived in secret and were responsible for the French Revolution, for controlling monarchies, and for manipulating nations from the shadows. Not a single one of these claims was ever backed by credible evidence. But the legend was too compelling to die. It grew and evolved over the centuries, morphing into the myth of an all-powerful, all-seeing cabal that we know today. Crossing the Atlantic to the United States, few societies are surrounded by as much modern speculation as Skull and Bones. This exclusive senior society was founded at Yale University in 1832. Its membership is a veritable who's who of the American establishment. Throughout its history, the group has initiated future presidents, senators, CIA directors, and titans of finance and industry. The combination of this elite membership roster and their intense secrecy has naturally fueled countless theories of hidden power and a secret agenda to rule America, if not the world. The group meets in a windowless, tomb-like building on the Yale campus, referred to simply as the Tomb. Initiates are sworn to secrecy, and very little is known for certain about their rituals or inner workings. This veil of mystery is the perfect breeding ground for suspicion. However, most historians and researchers who have studied the group describe Skull and Bones not as a global ruling cabal, but as an exceptionally well-connected college fraternity. Its primary purpose is to create lifelong bonds and a powerful network for its members. While this network undoubtedly provides its members with immense advantages in their careers, there is no evidence it functions as a centralized command center for a new world order. But the intense secrecy ensures that the mystery and the suspicion will always remain. Let's journey back to the Renaissance, to a time of mystics and alchemists, with the Rosicrucians. In the early 1600s, a series of mysterious manifestos appeared across Europe. These anonymous pamphlets announced the existence of a secret, hidden brotherhood of sages called the Order of the Rosy Cross. The documents claim this order possessed ancient, secret wisdom passed down through the ages, capable of transforming society and leading humanity to a state of spiritual enlightenment. They spoke of alchemy, esoteric knowledge, and a universal reformation of mankind. A wave of excitement and intrigue swept across the continent. Philosophers, scientists, and occultists were desperate to make contact with this elusive brotherhood. But no one could ever prove if the Rosicrucians were a real, physical organization, a clever literary hoax, or simply a beautiful metaphor for the pursuit of hidden knowledge. Whether real or not, the idea itself was incredibly powerful. The Rosicrucian manifestos inspired generations of thinkers, mystics, and even revolutionaries. The captivating idea of a hidden mystical order, secretly working for the betterment of the world, fascinated Europe for centuries and continues to inspire modern philosophical and esoteric groups to this day. So, with all this history in mind, why do we, as a society, remain so captivated by the idea that these groups secretly run the world? Historians and psychologists often point to a few key reasons. First, there's a natural fear of the unknown. When powerful people seem to act in concert, it's easier to imagine a conspiracy than to accept the complexities of politics and influence. Second, these groups use symbols that look mysterious and ancient, which our minds instinctively connect to hidden power and forbidden knowledge. And finally, there's the simple fact that humans love a good story, especially one about hidden truths and secret worlds. When societies face a crisis, widespread uncertainty, or rapid, confusing change, conspiracy theories flourish. Secret societies become the perfect villains in a grand narrative that helps explain the chaos and makes a complicated world feel a little more understandable. So let's separate the facts from the fiction. The Freemasons are real and exist today as a global fraternity. The Illuminati did exist, but only for a brief moment in history. Skull and Bones is a real and very exclusive college society. And Rosicrucianism exists today as a collection of modern philosophical and mystical movements. But is there any credible evidence that any of them control governments, global finance, or orchestrate world events? The answer from mainstream historians is a clear no. The real influence of most of these societies, past and present, comes from something far more mundane but still powerful: networking, shared ideals, and the social ties that bind their members together. It's about influence, not domination. In the end, secret societies capture our imagination because they represent the lure of mystery, the spirit of rebellion, and the tantalizing possibility of truths hidden just beyond our view. But in reality, their greatest power lies not in controlling the world, but in the enduring and fascinating stories we tell about them. The truth is often less frightening and far more interesting than the myth. Thanks for watching. For more deep dives into hidden history, forbidden stories, and the world's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.